So we're kicking things off with a fireside chat interviewed by Derek Anderson, the founder of Startup Grind, which I learned recently is not a hookup app for tech company founders. He's going to be chatting with the founder and CEO of Wanelo, Deena Varshavskaya. Let's give them a round of applause. Bring them up onto the stage. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
I already got a compliment on my shoes. Woohoo!
Oh, you did? Me too. Nikes.
Those are amazing.
Well, welcome this morning. How many people here know about Wanelo? Can I get a raise of hands? Okay, well, you're all going to hear about it. This site is pretty unbelievable in an amazing way. They are taking off. Tell us what is Wanelo? What problem are you guys solving?
Sure. Wanelo is an online community for all of the world's shopping. We are bringing together all stores, all products into a single platform, and we're empowering people to reorganize all of shopping.
And what is broken about the current the current shopping landscape that needs fixing? What's wrong with it?
It's just kind of stuck in the 90s. That's the main problem with it. So what I mean by that is that we've seen a lot of innovation on the internet in general, and a lot of that innovation has had to do with all content being reorganized around people, right? So the web is becoming social. We have a social platform, a leading social platform for every single important human need, right? So video, news, jobs, everything is covered.
Yeah.
And commerce is the one area that is really kind of left open. And so what it means is that we still, there are thousands, in fact, millions of separate stores out there, right? And we're expected to kind of go to each one separately, and finding the right stores is really hard. Finding the right products is really hard. Knowing what our friends shop for is, still really hard. So things like that.
Well, tell us about some of your metrics and the growth that you've had over the last several years. You started in 2008, 2009, is that right?
It depends on how you
where you
look
count
at
starting.
For the start,
yeah.
Right. We had a version that's the closest to what we are today, and at the end of 2010.
Okay.
Sort of like a very minimalist approach to products and people. And in the numbers that we've announced is in November of 2012, we had 1 million registered users. And I think a month or so ago, we announced probably more than that now.
8 million.
Yeah.
And talk about how many shares you're getting every single day or second.
So our key metric is saves. We're seeing millions of saves per day.
So describe what that is. What is a save on Wanelo?
So a save is when you find a product you like and you save it. Very simple. So just about collecting things you like. And so we've crossed 1 billion saves. And again, we see millions of saves per day. We've seen kind of averages of 200 saves per second. So it's pretty high engagement.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's amazing. The product is so simple, right? So talk to us a little bit about. So you've been working on it for several years, for 3 years, but yet the product is not like if you went to the site, which everyone should. The new app just came to the App Store. New version of the app, I should say, just came to the App Store this week. So go download it and check it out. You would say, wow, there's hardly anything here, but it's like a simple it's a compliment to you because it's a very deep simple. You know what I mean?
It's deep simple, exactly. It appears simple, whereas as you dig into the experience, and certainly we know that there's a lot of complexity there.
Yeah. So what is it? Because what does your engineering team do? You got about 20 people at your company, is that right? They're not building features. What are they doing?
Oh yeah, we're building features.
They're building features, okay.
Very much so. Everyone's a builder. We have very few people who don't touch the product directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of mobile, talk to us about mobile versus web. You have one of the top 30 apps, inside of the App Store at any given time. How much of your team is focused on mobile, and talk to us a little bit about kind of the challenges that you've seen moving from a web platform to a mobile platform?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the challenges for a startup today in general is just having to work across platforms. I mean, that means that you're diluting your resources, your focus. But mobile has been absolutely tremendous for us. And we started on the web and went to mobile because we were getting repeated requests from users. and they just wanted us to launch in the App Store. So it was almost against my will, actually, that we did that. And it certainly took off, and it's become a huge driver of growth for us.
Do you find, one thing that's really unique to your product, especially here at the Social Discovery Conference, is that you have a social product, but it has this incredible kind of commerce model built into it. I mean, it's a shopping product, but when on Pinterest last year, when Pinterest was told that or when the users found out that they were doing affiliate links on their products and on their boards, the community was horrified. Right, and with your product,
it's kind of the opposite.
It's the exact opposite,
right? And in general, on social platforms like Facebook, Twitter, we see brands market through content that they create that's specifically non-commercial, because the premise is that nobody wants to be sold to, and so nobody wants to see 100% commercial content. Wanelo is completely opposite to that, and it's really wonderful. And so some recent anecdotes to share about that is that we've started seeing a couple of brands actually post non-commercial content to the site, and so essentially style blogging type content. And we started getting emails from users who were just basically outraged, and they're looking at that content as that content cluttering up their feeds.
Like they want to say, hey, if I see it, I want to be able to get it if I like it.
Right, that's why they're on Wanelo, because the premise is that everything is purchasable, and that's precisely what differentiates the Wanelo community from every other community out there.
So how did you create that? Did you find these people hiding, around the world and brought them to this place, or did you teach them how to? I mean, how did this?
I think it's self-selected.
How did it come together?
Well, can you explain a little bit more?
Well, if you go to Facebook or Pinterest, or these people we do not want to be sold to on these sites. Right.
Yet everyone shops, right? And so when we shop, we go to platforms that specifically sell us products. And so, we go to Amazon because Amazon is full of products. We don't go to Amazon because Amazon has products, but also, pictures of recipes. So it's self-selecting.
How do brands, talk to us about, tell us what brands are on your site right now, and then tell us what brands are doing and how they interact on Wanelo.
We have about 200,000 stores and brands on Wanelo right now, and they span the gamut from huge brands like Urban Outfitters, which now has 1.5 million followers on Wanelo, which actually parallels their Facebook following, I believe. To tiny Etsy sellers, and some of whom also have thousands of followers. And so, brands are basically reaching out to us. They're finding us in their analytics. They're hearing about us from their customers, and we're actually talking to many of them, trying to figure out how to help them grow their businesses.
When did that tipping point happen for you guys? When did brands start to call you and say, hey, we're seeing this in our analytics, we're seeing people come through and buy products from your site. When did that start to happen?
We've been hearing about it for a while. Certainly all of this year, and I would just say it's increasing in frequency.
Yeah. And are these companies, are they dedicating, is it one of these things where they're dedicating specific people to the platform now?
Yes, absolutely. And many of them are posting their own products, and we actually very much encourage that as long as it's non-spammy behavior. When you go to a store page on Wanelo right now on the web, you can actually see the top 5 contributors to that store. And for many big brands, you will see like Urban Outfitters, Free People, Nasty Gal. Like these are examples of stores where the top contributor is actually the store themselves, and then you'll see the individuals who are also contributing.
I was trying to figure out how to describe this product. I've been aware of Wanelo for some time because I follow several of your board members, but I hadn't used the product. And as I got on and started using it, and as I went on Twitter and all these, it became clear to me that it's essentially like legal crack for young girls. Is what I think is maybe the best way I would describe it. It is like if some of these tweets and what people are saying about it, things like I just got paid, I'm about to go shopping on Wanelo, or things like looking at Wanelo upsets me because everything is so cute and I'm too broke to buy anything. This is like normal. I'm not like cherry picking nice things that people are saying. These are like,
No, we're almost sorry.
What's that?
I said we're almost sorry.
Yeah.
But I would just say that, Wanelo is very much not just for young girls, for sure. I mean, our core demographic right now is 18 to 24, but with our latest version, we actually have fully personalized the experience. And going forward, that's our focus, is making sure that you're connected to stores and people that are relevant to you. And it's really, a model is very similar to Twitter, in that you make it work for yourself by finding the right brands, the right stores, the right people to follow, and you customize your feed.
Do you think this type of shopping experience can it be framed for men? Because your audience, as I read that, is
really
about
addicted men. We have men who use the platform on a daily basis.
Sure, but primarily, overwhelmingly, your platform right now is designed for women. Is women. Mm-hmm. But do you think, when you look at a site like these very visual kind of sharing, pinning sites or saving sites where you're saving this content, we see that they're overwhelmingly kind of geared towards women. Do you think that shopping experience is the same for men? Is it as simple as getting the right content in there and that will bring them in? Does it matter?
Is Twitter for women or for men? So it's very similar to that. I do think that women tend to get more value out of very visual shopping, but I think that in the long run, we will very much see everyone adopting the experience. And I think there is something special about how women relate to very visual self-expression in their physical worlds, right? So things they wear, things they put in their houses. There's definitely a distinct desire to do more of that.
When you started with the product in 2010, the kind of as the product exists today, how did you start? Tell us just a little bit about when you launched the product. Was it this overwhelming, huge viral success? Was it something that...
When I first launched the product, there was no success. I couldn't get my parents to use the product. It was really sad. So I did a bunch of experimenting, a bunch of failing, all around the same vision. Until I kind of built a bunch of features, and I had to face the fact that none of them were working. It was just too messy of an experience, and I went through the experience at that point and faced reality, faced the fact that things weren't working, and started removing everything that wasn't working. And the two things that I couldn't remove were products and people. So that's how we ended up with what we are today.
And going forward, where do you see, what does the future of shopping look like to you? You've said that your vision has not changed since the beginning. The execution has changed. So what does that mean? What does shopping look like 10 years from now for us?
Yeah, so I think in general, what technology does is it empowers the individual, and we're seeing that play out across all categories. And so I imagine a very similar thing happening around commerce. And so I think the future of commerce or shopping specifically is that there's a single platform that gives us all the information in the world we need about every single brand, every single product. And it brings all stores, all products together. And we know everything that we need to know about every single thing in regards to the social context around it. So, do my friends shop in this brand? What other brands are related to this brand? All of those questions.
What percentage of our shopping experience do you think will be on mobile versus the web? How big a shift is that in your vertical?
I suspect that in the future that differentiation will just melt away at some point. Because it will no longer be, we'll just be so connected across all physical objects, right? It depends on how far in the future we're talking about. But I think, I think that the transformation that we will see in shopping will be more about how content is organized and less about what particular hardware we consume that content on. And I think today we're still in a world where it's about brands telling us what they want us to know about each individual product. If you think about going to a retailer site, it's what the brand wants you to know about that product. But that's not the truth about the product, nor is it what's most interesting to you about that product. And so the future will be very much reversed to the point where it'll just be about the information that's relevant to you, and all the information will be reorganized by people who are relevant to you as well.
What do you think is the future of malls? Do malls have a future? Because this is what you've created is I mean, I wasn't around in the 60s, but it seems like it's like the Sears catalog of 2013. It's like this thing where if you want something, you kind of, when you're a little kid, you're cutting out, on a Sunday morning, you're cutting out those, the video games, you're cutting out the different things in the newspaper that you want. How far does it span? Is it just fashion? Is it just clothes? What can you also?
I think it's everything. Yeah, social commerce is everything. It's every object out there surrounded by the social context around it. And I think, so yes, Wanelo is a giant catalog, but it's also much more than that because it's also all the communication, all the conversation around each product and store. And we're just starting as far as enabling that communication, so we're really early.
Another thing that you guys have done that's really interesting is you've not built your social data on top of something else. You use Facebook Connect, but you've not relied on Facebook or Twitter or other platforms to kind of get data under information. You've kind of done it the hard way. You've built it yourself, it seems like. The hard way, which is now paying off, I'm sure, because you own this data on these customers, which is probably much more valuable than Facebook's data on individual users. Talk about that decision. Was that based on a need of simplicity in the product? Was that why not leverage other platforms? Why kind of do this?
So you're referring to the ability to follow your Facebook friends, for instance, or find it?
Well, there's that, or there's like pulling from the social graph to say, oh, well, I like, X movie, I might like X products.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we'll get to at some point. It just wasn't where we started. And it wasn't where we started because, I don't know why, because the core experience just did not really depend on that. And so the other interesting thing is that in terms of, there are kind of interesting questions around who you follow on platforms like this and who you connect to, because your friends are relevant to you for a different reason than, other people might be relevant to you. So you may not necessarily like your friend's taste, but so someone you don't know who you admire might be a lot more relevant to you. So there are aspects like that we are building in. And ultimately, I think that it makes sense that your shopping graph would be unique and separate and distinct from your general friend graph.
Which social platforms are you guys seeing the most lift from? I mean, these brands are coming to you all to sell their products. Where are you seeing the biggest impact for you? Is it sharing on Facebook? Is it sharing on Twitter? Is it what platforms do you see that are kind of having a big impact?
None of the platforms have actually been transformational for us. And as I'm super engaged in figuring out how to make the platform grow, I've certainly paid attention to a lot of those platforms, and I kept waiting to see which one is going to be the leading driver. And really, what happened is, we really started taking off once we launched on mobile. And the platform was sort of offline, people telling each other, literally. And so that's been the most transformational.
That's how you spread? Is
the old
just
school
word of mouth?
way of people telling each other in person,
Wow.
I believe, mostly.
And how critical was it when you launched on mobile? I mean, how much of your web following did you get them there, or did it just?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was really helpful to get started with, we had an existing small, really passionate community, and they were the ones who were demanding the mobile app, right? So once we launched on mobile, they showed up and they started using the app, and then, over time, that just started growing and taking off.
You've got 70% of your users that are coming back to the site every single month. How do you get that kind of engagement? I've been on the site for several weeks. I've not received a single email, yet I've gone back several times, which is great. I mean,
we try to not be spammy as much as we can.
It's great.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? How do you bring these people back?
They kind of bring themselves back, really, because the experience
That's nice.
It is kind of nice. It works when you start building a product that really creates unique value. And so our users come back because they get something on the site. They get to see really unique, unusual products that are constantly updating and dig into their passions, and that's really addictive. It's a really fun way to just spend time, if anything.
And money.
And money.
Yeah. Did you, in terms of the money side of it, I mean, was that was always in the vision, right? At the beginning was, hey, this is a great social platform, this is a great community, but at the end of the day, this is for people to buy stuff. This is for people to buy products,
absolutely.
and you're creating, you're creating the store, you're creating the experience for people to buy these things.
Right. I mean, the beginning of the concept was actually just thinking about the future of advertising and realizing that there is no future in advertising the way it is today. Advertising does not typically create value. It interrupts our experience. As a user, if I have a choice to be on a platform that interrupts my experience versus a platform that creates value for me, I'm going to choose the second, right? And that's the choice that users will have more and more going forward. And so shopping of the future is really about empowering the individual, and the individual will have all the choice they need.
I just, as we finish up here, I wanted to just go back to this idea of focus and simplicity. And what do you, to people that are building social products, there's so many APIs, you can use, there's so many, different logins you can go with, you can do all, there's all these different features you can create. And how, what do you suggest to founders or entrepreneurs that are building these types of products to help them stay focused? How do you stay focused in this social space?
Yeah, staying focused is really hard. I think it's really important to figure out the one thing that matters, and there usually is that one thing. And then put that front and forward, and then everything else is secondary. When we launched our mobile app, for example, the experience was just absurdly primitive. So, we were already on the web, or we had been on the web. We knew that our users really loved the really powerful, simple grid of products that we presented them with, and so that's what we led with. So our mobile app initially was nothing but literally a grid of products that you could click on, save. You could not remove them from your profile. There was no forgot password functionality. There was no, editing of your profile. I mean, there's just like glaring gaps in the product, and it didn't matter. So yeah, I guess my tip would be find something that creates just really powerful value from the very beginning of the experience and focus on that.
Build something people want.
Yes, and give it to them really fast.
Can we give Deena a big round of applause and thank you for coming?
Thank you so much. Thanks.